So for the art activity, we're going to start looking at the life and the work of a man called Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was born in Holland in 1853. And because he was born in Holland, we say he was Dutch. He painted lots of landscapes and paintings called still lifes. And now that is a painting that might be of flowers or fruit, but he did lots of landscapes. So that would be the countryside or a town. He only painted for about 10 years, but created more than 2,000 artworks. He liked to use oil paints, but he also used watercolours and other materials too. As a child, Van Gogh was very quiet. In his school, there were around 200 children, but only one teacher. Now, in Hawley Infant School, we have about 300 children and lots of teachers, so his school was very different. He liked to draw at school, and then as he grew up, Van Gogh worked as an art dealer, and he travelled around Europe and then became a teacher in England. You now know that Vincent van Gogh is famous, and he used bright colours and bold brushstrokes in his work. But let's have a look at the kind of marks he used in this painting. So have a good look. Now this is a landscape, so it means it's a painting from outside. So it's some fields and grass. We've got some flowers. A little building, might be a barn, some trees and some clouds. Now if you have a look at the grass, it's got some little short brushstrokes here. And then the clouds, he's got swirly marks that make these kind of spiral shapes through the sky. So keep trying to remember those different marks because we're going to have a look at some more in a minute. So here, let's have a look at the colours you can see here. So here, there's lots of yellow and gold, and yellow again in the sun, and then we've got green. And he didn't use too much black, but he did use dark colours here. So you can see, even though this is a dark rock, he's painted it in maybe a very dark brown or a bit of purple. Now let's have a look at these paintings. So these are both by Van Gogh, but they look quite different. So there's this one that we've seen before, and there's this one which you haven't seen before. But I'd like you to have a look and see if you can compare how they're different and how they're similar. Have a think. So I think you could say this one, the colours are very different, aren't they? They're very dark. And here they're very bright. But the brush strokes here we've talked about being quite short. But here, look, he's used some longer marks. And here where he's painted a city, he's used quite smooth brush strokes because the buildings look quite smooth, don't they? And then here, we've got a painting of a town and the brush strokes go in different directions. So here we've got some going diagonally this way. We've got some brush strokes here that go up and down. So that's vertically. And then we've got some that go across. And he's done that so that you can see how the buildings are made. Now here, he's used very smooth brush strokes, using mostly grey colours. So he might have wanted to show that this was ice or snow here. He's got nice smooth brush strokes here to make the buildings look smooth. Now 2 years later, he painted these buildings and used what's called texture. And this is the word here, textured brush strokes. So lots of dots, lots of little lines, and he began to include some brighter colours such as green and some purple. And here you can see he's also used some browns and some reds. Maybe these are the shutters on the buildings. Now this is a very famous painting, and he painted this city scene at night. How can you tell that this is a painting of a nighttime scene? Have a good look. There are some clues, aren't there? What can you see? Can you see the lights in the windows of the buildings here? And the lights here outside a cafe. but also there's a clue in the sky. And this links with our topic, doesn't it, of space? Have a look here. He's painted the stars in the sky. Now he started to use a lot of his favourite colour. And if you have a look, you can probably guess what was his favourite colour. It's very bright. His favourite colour was yellow. And after you've watched this video, if you want to, there's a little film you can watch where an actor plays Van Gogh, and you'll be able to listen a bit more to how his life was and the work he made and what he liked to do. Now this is another famous painting as well, where again you can see he's painting at night, or showing a picture of the place at night. This here, what do you think this might be? Yes, it's a river. And you can see he's painted the reflections of the lights in the river using very short brush strokes, and then some more short ones here. And look, he's painted in the sky, the stars again. Now we're going to learn a bit more about one of his most famous paintings, and this one is called Starry Night. And this is the painting. And you see all sorts of different marks in this painting. And again, some of his favourite colour, just little bits of yellow here. And look at these fantastic shapes here, aren't they? And spirals that he's made. But he hasn't painted them in one go. He's painting them with brush strokes, quite jerky movements to make these spirals. And then also these lovely marks here as well. But down here where he's painted the buildings, he's painted these using quite smooth strokes. And then we've got some hills in the background. So you can see again the colours he likes to use. There's lots of blue, lots of dark blue, a bit of dark green, some white and some yellow. Not really very much black. Now, Starry Night was painted when Van Gogh was in hospital. He'd been working very hard and he hadn't been very well. And he had an accident where he hurt his ear very badly, so he had to stay in hospital for a long time. Unfortunately, Vincent didn't recover very well and he died when he was just 37. That's not very old. We go back to the painting that he painted and look at the swirling effects that he painted with his paintbrush, with the thick lines and the curved lines, and the yellow paint he painted to paint the moon. And these little brush strokes here make the stars look quite special. They look like they're glowing. Now the next slide, we're going to have a look at the moon here. So this is from the same painting, but it's called a detail. So we close in on just one part of the painting. And can you see how thick the paint was? And you can see how he's used his paintbrush. And here he's used these marks around to follow the shape of the moon. Now it's your turn. You're going to look at either using thick paint or pastels to make your own Starry Night picture. And these pictures are from some children a while ago in school who did actually do this activity. And they had paint that was powder paint here, and they mixed it in their palettes to make the colours that they needed. And here you can see a boy is painting quite thick paint, not maybe as thick as Vincent van Gogh's. But we thought that if you have some powder paint at home, you could use it to do a painting. Or if you have the liquid paint that you can buy in those squeezy bottles, you could squeeze it out onto a plate or a palette if you've got one like this, and have a go at painting Starry Night. Now with the liquid paint, if it's not thick enough, you can add flour to it. Now you'll have to ask your grown-up if you can do this. But if you take some flour from the kitchen and mix it in a dish or a bowl or a palette with the liquid paint, it will make the paint go really thick. And then you can paint on your paper a painting of the Starry Night. Now this picture This person has decided just to do the swirly shapes because they like the patterns that they made. But you can see here, there's a lump in the paint because she's made her paint really thick. So have a go and see what you can do. And then maybe you could take a photograph of the painting you've done and send it into school. All right. And then if you have any problems, you can let us know. But enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed learning all about Vincent van Gogh.